Shut up and sit down.
It's round 3 of the ChampCar iRacing series for 2022. Thank you for joining us. As the championship rolls on, we have our first ever championship race at Summit Point and first race of the season in the Volkswagen Jetta. Rotating schedule of 4 different cars this season. This is our, dare I say, token front-wheel drive effort for the championship 16 rounds in the schedule for this season. We're now on to round number 3. So once again, thank you for joining us. I'm David Haynes, joined by Devin Peters. Got Michael Derby behind the scenes on the production today, bringing you pictures of today's championship race, where qualifying is just wrapping up now, and we have a 1-hour race with a required pit stop ahead of us. Devin, first time here for the championship at Summit Point. It's a shorter track than some others. I think that just means that every single corner there's no excuse for not getting it right every time. That's the kind of level of perfection our drivers are going to have to try to achieve.
Yeah, and this is really the kind of track that you love to see on the schedule. You know, it really brings back some of the roots of ChampCar in a lot of ways. You know, club track, short, sweet, but in that middle section, there's some real tricky optimizations you can do on your line that come out on the stopwatch. I mean, you miss a curb, you bounce the wrong way across a bump, and all of a sudden you're down 2-3 tenths at the end of the lap. And with the way these guys are pushing at the front, that's a big difference.
Right, everyone loves Daytona and Road America and VIR. But there is a lot of our schedule tracks that are near and dear to people's heart, like, you know, Harris Hill or Autobahn or Nelson Ledges or any of those sort of places where a lot of people cut their teeth or maybe experience some wheel-to-wheel racing for the first time. Maybe this is that kind of scale of track.
Mm-hmm. Well, and when they weren't, you know, in the era before they were filming every single IMSA race, you know, IMSA was out here racing, SCCA is out here racing. There's tons of history around a place like this, and you know, it might not get the coverage that the NASCAR tracks do, but it's still the home for plenty of racing and plenty of racing stories. So, yeah, I really love this kind of place.
So let's talk about why we go racing in the ChampCar iRacing series, the sim racing companion to the ChampCar Endurance series. It's because we think racing's for everyone and it should be more accessible to everyone. So we have a $1,500 prize on the line this season. Your points champion, that is the sim racer with the most points, gets that $1,500 entry into the ChampCar Endurance series next season. But then it's also about giving everyone a shot. So there is another prize of equal value that will be drawn randomly from anyone who does and completes at least 12 races this season.
Mm-hmm. Best deal in racing, if you ask me. Go out and have some fun on iRacing and give yourself a shot at one of the biggest prizes in sim races, and definitely the biggest one in grassroots motorsport.
And thinking about that championship so far, we've had 2 rounds, we've had 2 winners. Zihaldu and Mark McCormick, they're both back with us here for round 3. They're second and third in qualifying at the minute.
I think you picked up on it too. Both of us were watching them last week at the practice race and in the chat over the course of the week. And even with very limited real ChampCar experience, He is on track in the sim and qualifying middle of the pack. I think we might have lost my co-host here, so keep it going. We're watching Mike coming into the infield here. Gives you an idea of this track. This part of the course is real tricky. You got this high-speed right-hander sweeping into the infield, and when you get on the brakes in this car, it really likes to slide the rear end around, come through the infield, try to stay off that curb if you want the fast line, and then clip back to the left. And characteristic of Summit Point here, you've got these big high risk corners. Got to really commit to the outside edge, but you can already see the skid marks forming towards the inside of the track once people go and put 2 tires off. And the dirt on the apex of that corner and on the exit should show you where people like to miss it as well there. Drafts on this track are pretty significant too with this car. The Jetta, not a car with a ton of draft, but it will make a few tenths difference down the straightaway out here. And we're seeing guys starting to clear off the track at the end of qualifying here, deciding that they won't get another lap in. Pit lane entrance.
Have noted before, if you go too far in that turn 1 runoff, you'll find yourself in Virginia. The circuit located within West Virginia, about a mile from border with Virginia.
Mm-hmm. Was it just that we couldn't hear each other there? Hope we weren't both talking.
No, I think it's me. I think it was me. I normally want to assume it's Devon having technical problems, but today I think it was David Haynes. Checkered flag is out, as you may see. Barney waving the checkered cloth over the start-finish line. Everyone on their lap is going to complete it, but I would dare say our grid for round number 3 is almost locked in.
Well, and a little surprise at the front there. Simon Faulweather, always a contender, but not usually at the front in qualifying. More likely to find him in the top 5. He went out and put a real sweet lap in with a little bit of draft help, I think, too, and managed to put it on pole. Much to the consternation, I got to imagine, of Zihao Liu and Mark McCormick, who are just behind him on that top 3.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. What have we got? 31 Volkswagen Jetta TDIs. So an environmental crisis about to happen.
I was advertising the clean diesel Jettas over on the Facebook post there, but yeah, sure enough. I'm surprised we haven't seen any one of these or many of these get rescued, and dragged off the lot somewhere, put a roll cage in them and take them out to a champ car race.
There's still something to be said for the economy of them. It's just the soot from the other end, but they will go a decent distance on a tank. How about is it a DSG gearbox in these? Because the DSG gearbox in the Audi TCR is potentially problematic. It breaks a little earlier than the teams would like.
Yeah, you can get the DSGs on these, but I feel like they've got a manual as well. DSG would be kind of neat, though, I think. Assuming you can avoid the glass portion of it. Anyways, that wraps up qualifying. The drivers are coming to the grid, Ains.
They certainly are. And everything on this graphic looks correct. So your front row is going to be Simon Faulweather from Zihao Liu, Mark McCormick and Tim Wire on row number 2. Then Ian Giebler and Justin Hall, Alex Albert and Andrew Kosick. And then the top 10 is Jay Safiniak and Corey Barrett. This is some surprises potentially, but we know how close qualifying was and can be, and the racing too in this Volkswagen Jetta. So some good performers in the top third there. We've got David Palermo and David Martin for an all David row number 6.
You're Brandon Martin, right?
I mean, only when I started mentioning it did I feel like, yeah, okay, let's I might have to cheer for that. I got Brandon Marshall, Mark Kruger, Michael Thorne, Aaron Thorpe, Jerry Barvinek, Alan Wells, Lee Mullerman and Patrick Pursley through to 20th. And you've still got qualifying times deeper in the field here for Greg Vandervert, Jared Cubit, Christopher Flamian, actually third in the championship coming into this one. And then Sean Saputra, David Warden, Raymond Muratora, Ryan Gerstner, Ty Stover, Chris Knisley, and Alex Coffard all got qualifying times. What about Nick Love in 31st? There's a driver that we've seen compete for podiums and I think maybe even take a win at Long Beach last season. But if he starts the race, he's going to be starting 31st. So maybe watch out for Nick Love in this one.
Well, I was going to make a joke about how you might want to, write off Chris Flamian in 23rd there, our third place points position right now. But the thing is if you look at the qualifying times themselves, first through 10th or first through 8th, they're in the 22s. And then from 9th all the way back to 27th place, drivers are in the 23s. So real tight field here, and pretty much anyone's game, which is kind of seems to be the thing with the Jetta. It's a car that's relatively easy to get 90% out of. It's just the last little bit that's hard to get when it comes to lap time.
I don't want to put him on blast, but what is Alex Coffard doing right now?
Nappy? We'll see. This might be advanced strategies. Oh, there we go. He's remembered where the throttle pedal is, and he's off to the races.
I think I heard a beer opening just before that car got going. He's going to have to do some catching up to take the start here. My goodness. No catching up needed, though, for Simon Foweather. You saw him very eager to get on with this. Your pole sitter, he's going to have the inside of the front row when we get racing. He continues the tradition of putting paint schemes on cars that don't match what they are. It's a BMW E30 Volkswagen Jetta for him today.
I'm loving it. And speaking of paint jobs, I'm happy to see Mark McCormick return to his title sponsor, the Whammo company. We'll see if that comes into play on the Jetta here today. See how Lou opted for that clean all-white car this time. Tim Wire in his traditional B costume. 4th place there. And then the two huge-ass boys running side by side in the two alternate liveries there.
I think Justin Hall's still got that Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles inspired look. I feel like that was the inspiration. Simon Foweather is leaving a bit of space to the iRacing sedan pace car now. It's starting to really back up the field, getting him ready to go racing, and I think he's still just holding them before the final corner, waiting to get going, but I think Foweather is going now. Do you know what? It's hard to tell just from the engine note. Very muted, very low revving these cars, but we're racing green flag out for 60 minutes of Summit Point in round 3 of the ChampCar iRacing series. That is the start Simon Foweather would want, but it's also the start Mark McCormick would want. He has jumped up in a second as they break into turn 1 for the first time. Single file for your first 3, but then there is a lot of double file brakes in towards T number 1.
Yeah, I've seen some crumpled bumpers already, but no one pointed the wrong way just yet.
So looking up and down my timing screen, I think everyone on Foweather's row has gained a position. The inside line, very, very favourable there, I think, is what might have gone on. They're still leading them. No real problems on cold tyres for these cars, but do expect as the race goes on for them to really build some heat, especially into those front tyres.
Couple cars going around there. It looked like Mark Kruger got it a little bit wrong going into the hairpin there. And I think he collected David Martin or Brandon C. Marshall a little bit as well. Didn't quite catch the whole accident there. Oh yeah, Mark McCormick got dumped by, who was that? That would have been David Palermo dumping Mark Kruger there.
Oh no. Did catch some replays there. Lap 1 completed now. It is almost a single file diesel train action down the pit straight. Past the pit lane the drivers are going to need to use at some point, but not yet. So Foweather from McCormick, Zihao Lu, nothing between our early season championship rivals there. But you've still got Giebler and Wire and those drivers who qualified well rolling along with him here.
I believe we are expecting a stop for fuel in this race, even though these Jettas are super efficient. I think we only let them have a gallon or two when they leave the roll off the grid there to make sure they have to take a stop. So this is a factor to consider when we look at the running order here.
I think if you do fill the tank in these cars, you can get some 3-hour stint times.
This is so epic.
There ought to be a UN charter against that kind of thing. But it's looking good so far for Simon Fower. The 0.8 of a second now, himself as the leader, back to second place. Jihao Lu monstering Mark McCormick, I'd say at this point. Through the final corner, they are in absolute lockstep.
And showing what these cars are known for, just, glued nose to tail forever. But Simon Fowa there is really kind of pulling away here. I'm actually kind of impressed by the gap he's managed to pull on the guys behind.
Yeah, he's doing something right, and he might just be able to pull away early at the moment here in this race. That then really puts the focus on the drivers behind. Like McCormick and Liu, less than a car length in between them, and they just run like that down straight through these corners. Closing up a little bit is Liu. Front bumper to rear bumper, you've got this quick kink that then takes you to a big braking zone here. You can sometimes create a bit of surprise, create a bit of an upset. Ian Giebler might have even been looking there.
It's a really tight infield here, so it's really hard to get a move done. But what you do in turn, what is that in the infield there? That's like turn 5, 6, 7, 8. What you do there really sets you up for the rest of the lap. So you've got to kind of nail the infield to give yourself a shot at a run later on in the lap.
Yeah, absolutely. Got a little bit of pavement on the far side of the curbing in the final corner there that is all fair game to use. So exactly how you catch that curbing and how you roll the car through the fast final corner does seem like it'd be pretty important. This is a car with, as we said, no tunable suspension damping. It's pretty well factory settings locked in. So curbs can be very, very upsetting, and the tendency of this car to bounce and pogo is well known and well described. It's all closing up at the front though. What was almost out to a second, now back to 6/10 between Foweather and McCormick. And you would say absolutely not dropping Liu or Giebler or Tim Wire here.
Yeah, this car is about as underdamped as a car can be. You'll see him coming off the corners, every curb just bouncing down the whole straightaway, nearly. Things been pretty... I wish we could call it the arrow. But no, I was going to say that I'd show you some action from back in the grid, but things have been pretty quiet for the most part. That being said, there is a little battle pack forming up. The likes of Alan Wells and Patrick Pursley in 15th place, running 2 white cars, were just overlapping as they went into turn 5, 6, 7, 8 there. And now, of course, as I've mentioned them, they've managed to split that up. But that whole group from about, 12th place on back to 16th, they've been kind of going back and forth. And Michael Thorne in particular, mentioned him in the pre-race. He's already made up a few positions up to 12th place. It looks like 3 positions gained.
Mullerman through the gravel there, but I think Mark Kruger is rightly the one to watch here because lost some spots early with a bit of that contact, but then he's looking to make some of it back so deep on the brakes in towards turn number 1 and maybe parks it just a little bit there on the exit. But he's claimed a spot, and I reckon he could still claim a couple more.
Absolutely. Really is a corner that is well set up for the pass in that way. It kind of lets you really send it up the middle because it's so tight on the exit that you don't lose that much if you run it in deep.
Kruger had a little bit of deja vu there. He's personally got very, very close to outbraking himself and getting down the inside. That's how Kruger got hit earlier in the race. He holds on and he survives, and now another lap. He's looking to line up the next driver, which is Alan Wells.
Yeah, this car is very much chess, not checkers, and this track is kind of playing to that strength in the sense that, like I said, you got to set them up. Speaking of setting them up, I'm noticing the leaders are starting to get a little tighter. A couple more laps of Mark McCormick pushing like this, and Simon Follett is going to be right in front of him. Mark Kruger, on the other hand, getting by.
Yeah, Alan Wells almost choosing to give that one up. Might almost lose another. Probably will. No. Alan Wells is going to hold off Patrick Pursley there.
We got this other little battle pack forming up here with the green car there, Jay Sofianek, kind of being involved with Brandon Marshall behind and Andrew Kosick, Justin Hall ahead. Those five have lost the lead pack of about 6 cars and are starting to form their own thing. Ooh. I think we've just seen our first retirement of the race. Yeah, that's Raymond Muratori out of 23rd place. Went and found a tree in the woods to wrap himself around, unfortunately, by the looks of things. He and, who was that? I think, I didn't see who we got involved with there. That looked like Alex Crawford. Yeah, Alex Crawford coming from the back. Tries to get some overlap on the outside there, and 2 cars make contact. And into the woods we go.
Good deal.
Some contact there in the braking zone for the leaders. Foweather's gap of 1 second is now completely gone, very nearly anyways. 0.2 seconds behind him, Mark McCormick at the line, and 0.4 for Zihao Liu. McCormick's now right up behind him as they head into the wagon turn. Wagon bend, correction. And really showing off the 2 different ways into the infield there. You can kind of sweep it through the right-hander and be real late on the brakes, but give up a bunch on that next straight, that little straight before the right-hander again. Or you can kind of lay it off and then try and roll a little more through that corner, but lose some on the straightaway.
Maybe history wasn't kind enough to these Volkswagen Jettas, because there's absolutely no way this series ever exceeded noise limits.
Yes, they would be a great class for Laguna Seca.
They could, yeah, they could race through all day Sunday at CMP as well. Middle of the road here for your leader, Simon Foweather. He's following the white stripes, white dash lines, and that is going to dissuade Mark McCormick from throwing it down the inside. He's got to think about the drivers behind. They come so close, nose to tail in the braking zone into 1, first, second, third. A traffic jam, close as you like.
I think I was just seeing on our broadcast monitors there too. It looks like the rear brakes are glowing almost as much as the front brakes are on the way into 1.
The panel rubbing would be the loudest thing out on track.
Yeah, I was going to say, speaking of panel rubbing, turn 1 there, we just saw some contact. Christopher Flamian had a good view as Lee Muehlman took a dive up the inside of Greg Vandervert for 17th place. And 2 of them made some pretty significant contact on the apex of turn 1, leaving Vandervert facing the right way and Muehlman facing the wrong way at the apex of the turn. And yeah, sure enough, you can see the rear disc brakes glowing. and the fronts are looking cool. Not sure if that's how that's supposed to work. Back at the front, Mark McCormick's trying to get a move on.
Yeah, into the final corner they go. Setting up your run through here is pretty critical, and I don't think either of first or second absolutely nailed it. Zihao Liu was wise to it. Ian Giebler and Tim Wire still rolling along, so you've got 5 cars for 1.2 seconds here, and they are all closing in, compressing on first place before they even get to the braking zone. There's nothing in it here, and I think you see second and third just roll out of it a little bit.
These cars are so big and fat, frankly, that it's actually kind of tough to see around them and spot your braking points when you're running as close as you need to be to make a move work here.
So it looks like of them all, Simon Foweather's got the fastest lap, but here's Lou taking that dive down the inside towards the infield here. Running side by side over second place. Cannot get all the way clear down the inside there. They come to this right-hand hairpin where Mark McCormick is just going to lean on Lou a little bit. Not going to scare him there. It's almost a bit of an S's section. They'll rub once more and see how Lou will have to just touring car style biff and barge his way through into second. Good news if you're Simon Foweather, seeing that take place in your mirror. Not great. Already contact between the championship leaders.
Zihao taking on the Whammo mantle, doing the brand proud. Costing them both a little bit of time, though, as they did that section too wide. And I think Simon's going to have a bit of a lead here at the line. And it's definitely brought Tim Wire and Ian Giebler back into it.
So McCormick, no revenge, no counterattack just yet. Probably quite aware of the fact that he doesn't want Foweather to get away and how much time the two of them lost fighting side by side like that. But, you know, this is a car that produced some quote-unquote interesting racing last season where it was really close, but none of the drivers were actually that thrilled about the racing, found it just a little bit processional, and everyone seems to get at least 95% of the performance out of the car. I think what we just saw there was sort of the lengths you need to go to try to make a pass. Lou had to surprise, dive it in, and then get the elbows out to fully complete that pass.
Yeah, you're right. But I was going to say, it's getting dark out here. Might be able to see some more surprises with how dark it's fixing to get out here with 40 minutes left in the race and the sun already down nearly.
Interesting is the line that the leader takes. See how Lou's got to follow, but McCormick still closing him up and still just saying, I can wait. I can have some patience, because it is still relatively early on in this race. I get the feeling like in 45 minutes time, it'll be mighty dark.
Zihao Liu absolutely nailed turn one there. That's about as good as you can do it. He rolled out so wide on the exit. That was really nice, and he managed to make himself nearly a car and a half, maybe 2 cars there on Mark McCormick on the exit.
Very, very factory-looking interior still, except I think with the absence of the radio, so you're not going to pump any tunes in your Jetta TDI Cup car.
And I think they took the speakers out of the headrest too. To be fair, you could probably hear the speakers at the track, so you don't need it.
Window down, you'll get a good idea of what the PA is saying.
Mm-hmm. Looking a little further back in the field for some battles, I got David Martin in 11th and Mike Thorne in 12th. Mike's been kind of harrying David Martin there for a few laps, and now the two of them are looking real tight as they head into the last turn there, out onto the straight, and Michael is already trying to get some overlap. Calm down and get him at the far end of the straightaway. Dave seems to be wise to what the plan is here, though, so Mike's going to have to do it around the outside if he's going to do it at all. Well-designed track, though, because if he makes this move work around the outside, and he will, but even if he doesn't, he would have had the inside line to the next left-hander here, so positions. Every little bit matters here.
Can you really say well-designed track to a layout that was improvised by a guy with a bulldozer? Like, it's a good track, it's a good layout, but I think saying it was designed is giving too much credit.
I'll give you that. Another battle going on here. Mark Kruger and David Palermo, 14th and 15th, are getting a little bit spicy. Kruger put the bumper to Palermo through the wagon bend there as they come into the infield and make their way around the carousel, as they call it here. Seems a bit proud, if you ask me. But they're continuing on. And it looks like Palermo's managed to do a little better through the infield this time, so Kruger's not quite going to have something for him.
If every track in world motorsport can have a bus stop, then some of the
Ooh,
point can have a carry.
look at the lead. Look at the lead. We're 3 wide. Now 2 wide. Ziao Lu's managed to dive to the inside on Foweather. Ooh, that's tight. Oh, there's some contact. Ziao Lu showing early that he's not afraid to use his bumper to guarantee a position. Might not be guaranteed, though, if Foweather can get back overlapped.
Foweather's trying.
Oh, and Ziao Lu's giving him some space. Ooh, that sand trap's pretty forgiving, though, on the outside there. You can actually make a fair bit of time if you're willing to take an off track. And Ziao was that time by. Oh, Foweather doesn't look happy about it, though.
Well, they both gave each other good space when they went side by side there. But then Loon felt the need to defend a tiny bit. Foweather might have lost out. And again, it just keeps 4th and 5th in touch with what's going on up front here.
Mm-hmm. I actually think Tim Wyer's gotten a... Well, he hit the line, but he must not have been flat all the way through. He's not getting the run I expected him to.
Final corner and how you carry momentum there seems to be just so critical. Like, it's a little hit and miss, and you make a little mistake maybe in one and don't carry the speed you wanted, you'll be all right. At wagon bend, you can then still defend into the next corner. But I just think if you have a big enough error in that final corner, it's not possible to defend it into turn 1.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's the one place you can't airbrush over a little mistake.
Ooh, hearing some more panels bending. Jay Sofianek, 10th place, 9th now, just used his left side up, trying to get past Brandon Marshall in turn 1. That move looks like it's pretty well solved, though.
A lot of these passes do need a little bit of bumper.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so deep on the brakes. Sofianek is then going to lose out again, though, maybe to Marshall.
Ooh, he manages to hold on.
Get touched again, and then Michael Thorne's going to want some of this.
Ooh, he's feeling comfortable in this front-wheel drive car.
Oh, and they both touch, but front-wheel drive, keep it pinned. Thorne goes on, carries on, but for Sofianek, he's going to lose out a lot of momentum, lose a spot too. David Martin and Aaron Thorpe will line up too.
And I happen to know that Mike Thorne's experience, he's got some in front-wheel drive cars, so he's familiar with how to save the things in real life, and the same strategy works. So that's a pretty big lap there. That's Brandon Marshall up to 9th, Michael Thorne from 12th to 10th, and David Martin and taking a spot away from Jay Sofianek as well. So that's put Sofianek down a few spots from where he started now, 3 spots down.
Thorpe breaks super deep into one, and then he makes a little bit of contact with Sofianek. It is a bit of bumper cars out there.
And you gotta imagine that Sofianek's in the car just angry at this point. He's gotten shuffled back over and over and over again by people doing the same sort of thing to him. So, apologies for the weirdness on the broadcast there. We'll get that fixed up for you in just a second.
A little bit of unscheduled behind the scenes on that one of what goes into production here on HJBC.
You wouldn't believe it, folks, once you saw both the PCs and all 5 of the monitors. Anyways, maybe we check back in on the front here. Our little group of Zial, Foweather, and McCormick is actually starting to put a little bit of a gap between themselves and Wire.
And here goes Foweather. He's looking for that lead down the inside at turn 1. Zihalu sees that coming and brakes a little bit earlier, looking to cross back underneath. Now that is some good racing. They're side by side still once again. But for Lou, he'll once again find himself on the outside for the following corner.
I think Foweather's getting a little from him on the straightaway. Either Zihao lifted or Foweather was shifting a little better than Zihao that time. You can see the different approaches. McCormick really prefers that sort of tighter, more controlled line, And then both Zihao and Simon are in sort of the dive it in as deep as you can camp. And getting out wide on the exit of the infield there, it cannot be understated how risky that is, because if you put two tires off there and start to get loose, if you go off track, you're going over a berm and into the woods. So it's a high risk area. The slightest mistake can have a high cost.
Yep, been there, done that. You get a little sideways, you catch some of the grass, maybe you flick back in the opposite direction. And then there's, the void calls if you leap across the grass and then across the ditch.
Seeing some calls from the chat to check in on Cawford's last to first challenge. Not going great for him so far, up to 21st place, but he's got a 3-second gap to the guys ahead. Luckily for him, though, it looks like that group's having a heck of a battle. Let's check in there. Sean Saprucha, Lee Muehlman, Chris Flamion, and a blinking Greg Vandevert, all battling together. For those less familiar with the iRacing service, blinking can indicate that your connection is poor. And so rather than kind of guessing where your car would be on track, the sim will just temporarily take you off the track. It's a great concept, but sometimes it can lead to, a pretty hazardous situation for the guys trying to get by you. Oh, as we see a move there from Vandevert. That's Flamion on Vandevert up the inside. Nicely done. But again, you can see Flamion kind of having to give up a little bit of space there and trust that that Vandevert won't pop back inside of him. Nicely executed there.
No, this is Christopher Flamion, not Christopher Nicely. It'll continue for Greg Vandevert, though, as that field heads down towards turn number 1. Lee Muehlman had a look, but be honest with you, I was watching him in practice, and I think he's one of those drivers that hasn't quite nailed the shift point. Hasn't nailed the braking point down the inside for one. They get close.
Whew. I'm just noticing there, Chris Flamion's running that, is that the Hulk? The numbers don't lie, and they spell disaster for you. A real good famous WWF quote there back in the day.
Yeah, it's a classic, but Vandervert's off the track and into the grass, and I heard some panels, I heard some bumper to bumper.
Yeah, it looks like that's Lee Muehlman. Just got it a little bit wrong, tried to roll a little bit too much, and just barely tagged the left-hand corner of Vandervert's bumper there, but that's easily enough to get that car pointed the wrong way. Seeing our first pit stop there at the front.
Yeah.
Got Alex Albert coming in relatively early. He's been running kind of on his own. About 4 seconds behind the leaders and about 4 seconds ahead of that second group that we saw with Justin Hall and Andrew Kosick. So I guess maybe he's just figured, you got to do something.
Was that left side?
Different. Definitely saw left sides. I think I saw rights as well. And it's hard to know in this car if they're doing 2 or 4. Lefts only by the looks of things. Albert won't be happy to see the lap traffic, or not lap traffic, but traffic anyway. Have to make his way around Chris Nicely running the famous Haynes car.
Yeah. Let's make it abundantly clear that's a different spelling than my name.
No, that I swear that's the same. $5 to the first person to give Haynes a pair of Haynes underwear next time he's back in America. No, not into it.
No, I'm just lost for words. There is some unique Jetta paint schemes. out there.
Mm-hmm. Well, checking back in at the front, things are looking pretty similar. We've got Simon Follweather and Zihao Liu and Mark McCormick all nose to tail, real tight, and then hanging out behind them, Ian Giebler and Tim Wire. Ian Giebler just got his first off track of the race, so that's one instant point for him. Luckily, in this series, we don't keep track of the instant points. Points are made up, except for the championship points, and he's anyway managed to keep it cleaner than most of the rest of them until that point.
Always a question of where is there advantage to be gained from maybe going off track. And in this car, at this circuit, the answer is basically nowhere, except if you just overdrive it a little bit at 2.
Yeah, the wagon bend, you can do some tricky stuff there too, but I think they've cleaned up the slowdowns a little bit so that it's a little harder to gain an advantage. Real tight at the front here. I wouldn't be surprised to see Zihao poke his nose out if he wants the spot. They are getting closer. Ooh, Mark McCormick wants the spot. He's going for it.
Follweather maybe even just back up Zihao Liu a little bit, and the two of them are going to bump pretty heavily into turn number 1, and now McCormick is looking for the lead. I think there's some games afoot. There's a few more drivers pitting. We've seen, I think, Kruger and Palermo, and I wonder if some of them are just starting to think about that now, because it is spicy once again up front. Not too much damage at all to Zihao Liu. He continues in 3rd there. It did get just a bit nasty for a second.
Yeah, I was having a hard time telling if Follweather was backing him up deliberately, or if that was more of a Follweather having to give up a little bit because McCormick was so far up the inside of him, that he had to kind of get out of it. So either way, losing out there is Zihao, and I think McCormick will be happy to have that position going into the pit stops here.
So then approaching the halfway point of this race, there goes Mark McCormick for pit lane. Enough. Yeah, everyone else continuing. Tim Wire.
Yeah, Tim Wire in the background there too, taking it. Looks like the two of them will be coming out together. And the other 3 continue on. There is a little bit of lap traffic up the road. David Palermo still on the lead lap, but has been bleeding some time.
Well, left-hand side's for McCormick. It's busy on pit lane. There's others as well.
Yeah, the second group's come and join them now. I think I see, who's that there on the pit lane? Tim Wire's coming off it.
Nick Thorne.
Yeah, all those guys that we saw racing earlier. McCormick actually got it kind of wrong going into turn 1 there. Ran it real wide on the exit of 1 and nearly took it off the track. He's lucky to keep that pointed the right way, and he's lucky to have found some clean air as well.
Interesting. Is everyone else going to have to react? Is this about the fuel range we expected, or is it just drivers deciding to cut it all in half? Well, your leader now, Follweather, comes in. Giebler will follow him. Zihao Liu stays out on track, will be scored in the lead of the race. But of that top 5 group we had, now 4 of them have pitted.
Yeah, I think if I could, I'd like to stretch this out. Yeah, I have this feeling that getting some alone time on track might be beneficial for the lap times, particularly for some of these guys at the front. They've been having to fight and defend so hard. You never know.
Pit lane's the popular thing because David Martin, Brandon Marshall, Justin Hall, Christopher Flammy and Lee Mullerman. It's a question of who's not pitting, and the answer to that is Zihao Liu, Sean Saputra.
Ooh, look who's coming down though. Tim Wire is coming down the front straightaway here and making up some ground on Giebler and Follweather. I'm not sure it'll be quite enough to get a spot. He's coming in hot. Yeah, that is a busy pit lane. Must be near the end of the fuel. Got pretty much the whole grid. Yeah.
Mark McCormick, 2 seconds clear of Follweather and Giebler and Wire. So this sort of, next couple laps in the pit stop and everything for Zihao Liu is pretty important.
McCormick pushing his way past Ryan Gersmer there. Gersmer also getting passed by Sean Saputra up the inside in matching cars. Fowa there looking to find his way around as well. He's lost a few seconds on McCormick there. It looks like most of it in the stop itself. McCormick really has, in his first year in the series, I remember seeing some struggles with the fuel calcs, not always getting it right on, and he really seems confident these days.
So where's he going to be relative to Zihao Lu, who's stopping right now? 15, 16, pretty identical stops between our first and second in the championship. Back out on a track.
I think McCormick's got this.
Bitsy right out there.
I think McCormick's going to get him by the first turn, though. This can be real close. Zihao might be able to hold him off if he tries really hard. Oh, tense moments for the race here. Parking it. Oh, McCormick tried to make it.
Oh boy, contact for, I'm running out of fingers and toes to count between these two. They're side by side, and I think the high ground here. This is Zihao Lu. He's where you want to be, but they gotta give space. Give a little bit of space. They touch once more. Still side by side. You come across a crest here. Track dives to the right.
And McCormick tried to delay turning in as late as he possibly could, and then really stabbed at the brakes to get the car to rotate. But it wasn't enough in the end. Zihao's got the inside line through the infield and the carousel, and I don't think that McCormick can hold him off anymore.
And all the while, with that battling, Simon Foweather managed to catch them up just a little bit as well. He was about 2 seconds back. Now he's 1.5 seconds back, and he could join this again. Ian Giebler and Tim Wire are reunited, but they're no longer in touch with the lead group that seemed to serve them so well in the first half of the race.
I will say that I am Simon Foweather took that last turn, four-wheel sliding. But anyway, I will say that for two guys that aren't very familiar with the car, they're certainly very familiar with the fuel consumption, because they very confidently took that less fuel than the rest of the field. McCormick up the inside. See how have it.
I think McCormick and Lou both went fuel only, whereas a lot of other drivers like Foweather went left sides, and it might have taken them just a second longer. I don't know. See if maybe that's something that helps Foweather later in the race if he catches these two. It's pretty well, a street tire on these cars like we're used to in the ChampCar Endurance Series, wherein, you can quite comfortably do 4 hours, 8 hours on 12, these tires. It's just all about the pressures and the temperature.
Yeah. Well, and they're free in the sim, so why wouldn't you? Sometimes you shouldn't, but today it's probably not a bad idea. Those headlights really coming into play now. You're starting to see them standing out against the background. Getting dark on track.
I mean, look at these lap times now. Last lap from McCormick, 24.3. 22.9 from Foweather. That's all about to update, but Foweather on a charge now that he saw those other two just up the road from him. He nearly set the fastest lap of the race, that one as well.
Yeah, he's flying. Just barely off his best. And you know what? The other thing I was remarking, we got some advanced stats up here in the commentary box. Last 5 laps for all the guys in the top 5, within hundredths of a second of each other. No one's got an edge. So, as much as it's kind of been a 3-horse race for first place, I think that at any time you could see Ian Giebler and Tim Wires insert themselves into that battle and really shake things up for the points championship. If, say Mark or Zihao ends up in 5th place, it would be a disaster for them,
Yeah. Really? Make sure you're sitting comfortably, Devin, because I think this back half of the race should be good. I think it's going to be good. Something's going to happen.
I added the extra padding to the front of my seat, though. They told me that's all I was going to need.
We'll sell you the whole seat, but you'll only need the edge.
For those keeping up with the incident point battle, Zihao somehow, despite smacking Simon Foweather in turn number 1 there, still only on 1 instant point. Meanwhile, McCormick up to 4 with that Whammo livery. He must be attracting him. Zihao actually had a run there, and Zihao actually coming up coming up to turn number 1 there. It looked like he had a run on McCormick, but he opted to lift out of it. I wonder how much of this is Zihao maybe trying to save a bit of fuel at this point in the race too.
Gonna catch Ty Stover to lap. He stays right, and all 3 of our leaders go through. We might have still been distracted by David Warhol, or whoever's livery that was.
And I think he's going for one of those Red Bull camouflage liveries. I think that's sort of the idea there. Now, despite their pace on track, I will say that Ian Giebler and Tim Wire did take about 3 seconds longer on the pit lane than the other 3 up front. So that's kind of got them sitting about 4.5 seconds, 5 seconds now back on track. So they might be less of a factor than we'd hope. And this battle for the lead might end up being a battle of 3 rather than a battle of 5. A couple other quiet runners there, Alex Albert and Justin Hall and Andrew Kosick, all kind of spread out on track, 2, 4, 6 seconds between them. Battles deeper in the field are starting to get a little bit fewer and further between as cars shake out on their strategies and on their different paces over the course of the race.
I'm looking at who's got their iRacing club as Virginia's. Alex Albert, you and I know, West Virginia boy, but Brandon Marshall and David Martin are both listed as Club Virginia's as well. I don't know where either of those 2 guys are from.
Mm-hmm.
Though, to be fair, we're just as close to Maryland or anywhere like that as we are to some of the main population centers of West Virginia.
True. Back at the
this
front,
track is pretty popular with people from DC to bring their cars here and hot lap and etc.
Makes sense. I was going to say, back at the front of the field, we got Simon Foweather watching on as Zihao lifts again behind Mark McCormick as they head into turn 1. I thought for a second we might get an overtake attempt, but I really do think that Zihao is pretty happy being in second place. Surprising. Mark McCormick, has shown that he's willing to be a pretty heavy-handed defender at times. Previous races. Zihao not afraid of bumping either, though. And actually, a slight difference of approach there. I don't know if that was a miss from Simon Foweather or if that was intentional, but both McCormick and Zihao keeping it off the curb, keeping all their tire on the ground through the infield there. And meanwhile, Simon Foweather kind of all over him. No fear. Not sure it's paid off, though.
Sportsmanship from Alan Wells.
Yeah, doing his best and successfully stays out of the way. Fourth car to go a lap down, so we still got 26 running on the lead lap.
This is definitely the car where the gaps top to bottom of the field are a lot closer than some other cars, and we kind of saw in qualifying. It's like, oh yeah, there's 2 seconds or so, whereas some of the other cars, our field spread might get closer to 5 or 6 seconds. It's that, almost everyone's getting almost the same out of this car. That's why they race so closely. But then, for as close as they race, the passes are difficult.
Absolutely. And I think we need to maybe start a petition, get iRacing to put some of the more popular ChampCar sort of platforms in here. Be fun to race some, old B-spec Civics or, Neons, Cords. Take your pick. Got some Nissan platforms doing pretty well these days in ChampCar. That'd be a good place to go. I think the real question on everyone's mind here, as see how Loop pops out of existence there for a second. I think the real question on everyone's mind is there a headlight flash button on these cars? Haynes, comments?
Well, that's the thing. There's a couple of road cars on iRacing where you can see the light stalk where you would turn them off and on and, adjust your beams and whatever. But you can't reach out and touch it. This is one of them, surely.
I think you're right about that.
I mean, you can see the gear lever there. It doesn't do anything.
Disappointing. Folks who don't know, this was actually the original rookie car on iRacing, I believe, before the NC or the ND Mia and the NC Mia, and I think even before the Solstice. I think this was the first rookie series car.
Isn't the Jetta paid? Is the Jetta free now, or was it paid content at one point?
I think it was free content from the beginning. I think it was one of their first sponsored deals, or like a company approached them and said, "Build our car." I might be getting that backwards. I'm willing to be wrong.
I think the Solstice of 2007 was that launch rookie car, and then along came the NC and then the ND.
You got me. Speaking of people getting together, Justin Hall and Alex Albert for 6th and 7th is now starting to look more like a race than it did before. And judging by recent lap times, Justin Hall's definitely got the edge over Alex. We'll see if Alex can hold it off. Alex, of course, a two-time champion of the series, hasn't quite had the same run of form that he has in the past seasons. But still showing up every single week with a whole crew of folks from the Huge Ass team, including ourselves.
Yeah, so they're going to have potentially a bit of a battle here.
Yeah. Well,
they're only 3 seconds back off Wire and Giebler and lapping faster as well. So I think Tim Wire and Giebler were both very, very clever to just, since the drop of that green flag to the pit stops, stay with your leaders and your pole sitter Simon Foweather. They just haven't quite been able to match that pace post pit stops, and the way it's going, they will get caught by Albert and Hall. So watch that one with interest later.
Keeping an eye. I keep watching Zihow go down the front straightaway, and it almost feels like he's timing out the run. He's trying to get it right, and every time he gets to Mark McCormick's rear bumper and he can pop out a line, he just kind of lifts off it and dumps himself back into the line. But I have a feeling that's going to be a factor with 15 minutes remaining in the race here, making sure you got that absolutely right for the second to last lap or the last lap. It's going to be key. They're also starting to come up on some more substantial lap traffic. I can see about 5 cars in the next 10 seconds or so ahead of them. And substantially faster laps for them, 2-3 seconds a lap. So they'll be up on them pretty quickly.
One thing is, it should be hard to not notice a car behind you at the moment, given how bright the headlights are. Whenever you're in the car, you see it sort of light up your whole interior through your rear window.
Yeah, no lumen limits on these cars by the looks of things, and they just kind of flash the interior all the time over every bump. See how it peeks out. Oh, he dives a little. Not quite a move. Foweather's looking for his chance too. Got to remember, can't take too big of a risk. Like I said at the start, this car is more chess than checkers. You know, got to set him up. McCormick really found something in the wagon bend that time. Took 3 car lengths on him on that short straight.
He's playing Connect 4 this weekend just gone, and even that level of strategy was a little too much for me to keep up. Chess is not my game.
I think he'd call me a liar if I said chess was my game. So.
About 9 laps to go now.
Yeah, 9 laps to go, and I was going to say that battle, that Alex Albert, Justin Hall chase of Ian Giebler and Tim Wire has stalled out a little bit in the last couple of laps. Looks like Giebler and Wire have put themselves back in line and made a resolution to keep going forwards, not keep going backwards towards those other two. Gaps at about 2.5 seconds as they cross the line. Only other really significant battle that I'm seeing on track is maybe between Sean Putra and Corey Barrett.
Foweather and Zihao Liu make contact because the whole group got checked up with the traffic here.
Back at the front.
Yeah.
It's tough to get caught behind a lapper infield because, really technical, surprisingly technical, I think, for a lot of folks, that part of the track. And this will actually be real bad news for Zihao if that lapper, even if he tries to get out of the way. Yeah, and this might be real bad news here. Mark McCormick's now got what looks like almost a second gap as they cross the line. In my eye. Yeah, 1.1 seconds as they cross the line, and Foweather's got a run on Zihao, and I don't know if he'll be patient. He is. They'll need some luck or some pace to get back on Mark's bumper here. 7 to go, 8 to go that time by. And despite my proclamations to the opposite, Alex and Justin have taken a second out of Tim Wire and Ian Giebler last time by. Or almost a second anyway.
How do you figure that?
Well, because it was 14 seconds before, now it's 13. Okay, it was 0.3, but still, they're closing down. And I think the dark is actually starting to affect people. I think we're starting to see a few missed braking points, a little bit of stress. Getting close to the end of the race, people are starting to feel it. Our leaders are having to drive through all of it right now. Just put a lap on Ryan Gersmer, and they've got their eyes forward on Jared Cubitt. Cubitt's been at the center of a few late race dramas for us. Foweather looks like he wants to take it too wide into the first turn. He's going around the outside. Deep on the brakes. Ooh, and so was Zihao, and he actually managed to lock up the inside rear that time. Well, and this will be really tragic for Zihao and Foweather if they catch Cubitt at the wagon bend here. Well, luckily, looks like he's lifting out of it.
Yep, second and third get through. The gap, 1.1 seconds between McCormick and Zihao Liu in second. And McCormick will want to keep that gap to the end here if he can. They had so little traffic to deal with right up until just a couple of minutes ago. Now it seems like they're catching a bit of the field.
Yeah, it's right on pace. I see another 4 or 5 guys that could be factors for them here before the end of the race. They've definitely churned up the wick a little bit too. They're running some of the faster laps we've seen in this race. most recently anyway. Getting down into those low 23s. 22s are happening when there's a draft, but it's tough. Zihao puts 2 tires off on the exit. Last turn there. Foweather's going to have a big run this time. Zihao defends the inside. Foweather's going to have to make it work around the outside, but he's got more run and more time than he did last time, and he's got a little bit of a draft from Mark up ahead. Mark trying to sow a bit of chaos maybe from his championship rival. Ooh, Zihao doesn't give up the inside, though. He's on the curb, drops a few sparks off the bottom of the car as he defends. Foweather's going to have the advantage into the wagon bend, and Zihao decides discretion is the better part of valor, and he jumps in the line behind him. I bet you he's hoping that they can push up to Mark McCormick again before the end.
Yeah, I didn't think they stood to gain a whole lot by fighting it out there. It was only going to ever help Mark McCormick. He's still got a second, but starting to evaporate a little bit. The gap's evaporated between Giebler, Wire, Albert, and Hall as well. So there are going to be a lot of positions in flux and up for grabs right up until the end of this race.
Ooh, and Alex has got to be excited. This race didn't look like it had a lot of prospects for him at the start, but he's got a chance here to get all the way up to the 4th place, which would be a pretty satisfying points finish, I gotta imagine. Doesn't have to be a drop week then.
And this group of 4 are going to catch some of the same traffic as the leaders did in not too long as well. Could be
Jerry Barvinick, the first one on that list in the blue car just ahead of him. And Jerry was the man who tried to get out of the way of our leaders when they came by. Didn't quite work out. Gap for the lead down to 9/10. They'll keep on chasing down McCormick. And Tim Wire looks like he's got a bit of a run on Ian Giebler here. We'll see if he makes a move. Nope, just a bump draft. Alex Albert's making a move, though. Deep on the brakes. Oh, boy. Oh, he manages to get it woed down, and he gets a spot for his troubles, too. Oh, no, and Tim Wire just drives it straight off on the exit. Corner kind of cambers away on the outside there, and maybe a little bit of contact, and gone. Tough. 3-car battle for third.
To find that paved escape road to give him some grip and point him back the right way. But he loses out big time there. Alex Albert gets a position.
And now they're behind Barvinick.
Yeah.
This might suck Alex right up to the back of Ian Giebler now. Barvinick, it's not his fault, it's just such a bad spot. Let's hope he gets on the brakes a little bit earlier than last time. And he does. Ooh, it's tight though. Justin Hall has to check up, and he gets pinched on the exit. Oh, that's going to cost him a lot of momentum. Oh, and he tried to take the inside, but the lapper wasn't quite expecting that. Now it's a 2-car battle for 4th place. Justin Hall's not quite out of it, but he's going to have to do some work. He'll get some help from the 2 ahead battling. Gap at the front down to 6/10 this time by McCormick and Foweather. Zihao's kind of getting dropped off the back of that train.
Yeah, interesting. It is closing for the lead with what will be 4 laps to go, probably. The technical far end of the circuit, and it is really country dark out there at the far end of the track at the moment. Even though a bunch of RVs in the camping area are not shedding much light.
Albert and Giebler nose to tail. That will keep you with the leaders.
I think for everyone, it's those key passing places now where you can really try to throw the car down the inside and rely on that ABS. So into turn 1, and then into, 4.
Yeah, through the chute 4 and into 5, that hard left-hander. And the only other place that we haven't seen a pass attempt yet, but that's available is Paddock Bend right at the end of the track, the last corner. I wouldn't be surprised to see a move there. Speaking of a move, Alex Albert's putting it up the inside down the front straight here on Ian Giebler for 4th place. And he's locked it up. Oh, slid a little deep, and Giebler's managed to come do the over-under. and take the spot all the way back. So Alex takes his first shot at the spot. Doesn't cost him too much. 3 laps to go. Back with the leaders who have a ton of traffic ahead of them. Mark McCormick now just barely ahead of Simon Foweather. Ooh, two tight battles here.
They're about to catch the battling group of Greg Vandervert, Aaron Thorpe, David Ward, and Corey Barrett. So 4 cars very close for position, only a couple seconds up the road in the closing stages here for the leaders. Have managed to all close up in on each other. The final corner, they're trying to maximize the speed there. Longest run down the pit straight. You almost top out the 6th gear in this thing.
Very slowly on the way there, but yes, you get real close. Ooh, Zihao takes a big chunk over the inside curve that time around 1. Doesn't look like it cost him too much, though.
And this is where the racing style of the Volkswagen Jetta is on show, because you've got this big 4-way battle for 21st place going on. The leaders are catching it, but only at a second and a half a lap. They're not outrageously faster, but they are closing up on the penultimate lap. White flag at the end of this one. It is a tough place to be for these leaders, especially they're not just catching a car or 2, they're catching 4 cars, all battling for position.
Have 5 cars. We'll have to see how this one pans out. Those on the broadcast, you just saw Alex Albert make a sweet move up the inside of Ian Giebler there. He's still going to be holding him off in 4th and 5th place. I'll keep my eyes on that battle while Haynes handles the front.
So, the white flag waiting for them, crossing the start-finish line. Your championship leaders in the top 3 here. Simon Foweather, the joker in the pack. He's got nothing to lose, and he'd be looking to pick up a race win as well. In towards turn 1, what will he do? He's looking down the inside. Big traffic in front of our leaders as well on the final lap. It's going to help or hinder Mark McCormick. That look from Foweather that didn't get anywhere. Let's see how Lou close up as well. So he's in 3rd place, looking to pick up any crumbs.
That 5th, 6th, 7th battle, or 4th, 5th, 6th battle, they're weaving down the front straight. Staying in line, though.
Looks like it might be Vandervert in front of your top 3. All of them touch. Foweather's going to get pushed out wide. See how Lou's looking for 2nd. Car off the track. And your leader, McCormick, on the final lap has to go round the outside at the carousel. They're 2 wide battling in front of him. You've got 2 battles all just folded into each other here. McCormick takes the line he wants, but for 2nd and 3rd, they get boxed in. And this is handing it on a platter to McCormick, nearly 3 wide immediately behind. Foweather towards the final corner, trying to just slot his way through. See how Lou gets boxed in with nowhere to go. And Mark McCormick, the cards fall for him on the final lap. He's going to take his 2nd race win of 2022 and lead the championship.
Alex Albert holding them off through the last few corners. Justin Hall, though, has managed to get on the back of this battle. He's going to try and make a move around the outside of Ian Giebler. Manages to get a bit of a run. It's going to be a drag race to the line, but it looks like Ian Giebler's got just enough to hold him off. Sure enough, he does. Ooh, and it was tight there for the back half of the top 5 as well. See David Kruger, Mark Kruger, David Martin coming now through the last turn. Martin's going to have to hold it off. Does get a good run, and Martin is going to be able to hold off Kruger as they come to the line, with Brandon Marshall keeping his foot to the floor in the grass and coming home with 12th place. Now Scarford's going to show off the ceremonial jump as he puts it over the tree for 13th.
I think I saw that in a movie once.
And Patrick Pursley is going to take home 17th place, just behind Chris Flamion and ahead of Chris Nicely, and both of them taking the ceremonial jump as well. Well done. As the last car on the lead lap, Jay Sofina crosses the line in 19th place. Tight stuff at the end there.
10 minutes trying to work out what happened for all the leaders in the final lap there. But there was a battle going on. They caught it, and Mark McCormick was kind of the only one who managed to be in the right place at the right time there for Foweather and Zihao Liu. They found themselves trying to battle too wide, losing time, costing momentum. So they're the sweeping corners that then take them on the short straight towards the final corner. Looking at the results, though, is that all correct? It is. Mark McCormick, your winner from Simon Foweather. Zihao Liu with third. Alex Albert worked his way up in a fourth, passing in Giebler. Justin Hall, Tim Wire in seventh. Andrew Cosick, Michael Thorne, and David Martin was the top 10. Then we had Mark Kruger, Brandon Marshall, Alex Coffard, Lee Moorleman, Sean Saputra, Christopher Flamian, Patrick Persley, Chris Nisley, Jay Stefaniak, and David Palermo as the top 20. And who else finished? We had Corey Barrett, Aaron Thorpe was, I think, the last car on the lead lap. And then Van der Vert, Warden, Jerry Barvanek, Jared Kubert, Ty Stover, Alan Wells, all one lap down. Then looked like it was 2 laps down for Raymond Muratora. Maybe 3 or 4 for Ryan Gerstmer, and Nick Love, I think, also with some technical problems tonight. Doesn't look like he took the start.
Yeah, he ended up having to sit this one out. Seemed like he couldn't make it to the grid today. Well, tense stuff there at the end, though. These Jetta races, they're slow burn, but when they get kicked off at the end like that, it can get pretty spicy. And that was, I think, about as competitive as we've seen one of these races. It often feels like when we're seeing the battles that one car can't quite get enough to get ahead of the one in front. But today that was not the case, and they really showed off some of that talent and some of that real consistency as they battled to the end.
Let's chat with a couple of our drivers now. Third place, Zihao Liu joins us. Tough racing there, really close all the way through, and I think your front bumper, your rear bumper, maybe some of your doors as well have got a new coat of paint.
I got some unexpected overslow during battle with the Mark and Simon, and also the back markers really slow us down, and just unpredictably, probably I hit Simon sometimes, and Simon hit me a few times. But it is what it is. It takes third, but it's podium. I can take that.
Yeah, indeed. Yourself and McCormick, battling together immediately after those pit stops, and then Foweather, massive speed that I think, similar to what he showed in qualifying, managed to reel you guys in again.
Yeah, the reason I actually got ahead of both of them is because I'm a little bit under fuel. This actually cost me I'm a little bit of fuel cut at the last corner. So I think track position is much more important. But I also changed the both left side of tires, and at first 2 laps and a little bit struggle on finding grips. I think that's the reason major reason I want to be placed at the back of the mark, because I want to do some fuel save and also warm up the tires.
Well, you had a first place in round number 1 in the Ford Mustang, a second place in the Mazda Miata in round 2, a third place now in the Volkswagen Jetta. You'll be, I think, delighted to be back in that Ford Mustang March 30 at Daytona. Yeah,
definitely. I think I will definitely participate in that race, and also maybe I will be on the plane to fly to Daytona, actually, to race in real life. ChampCar, I think this is the big one. I will do some preparation for the iRacing series and also the in real life.
Got any more details you can share with us about that? What's the plans?
You mean the iRacing or the in real life?
For the real world.
Oh yeah. So I'm gonna fly on March 31st, and yeah, I will be running a car number 966. It's the same number as today. We are gonna run uh 2003 Toyota Corolla with Plus One Racing. Yeah, it's gonna be exciting. We have a big crew, and we are ready for that.
Well, we'll all keep our eye out there. Thanks for joining us once again, and best of luck. And we look forward to see you for round 4 of the iRacing series later in the month.
Thank you all.
Well, Devon, we've spoken to one championship contender. We've got another and today's race winner standing by.
Yeah, I've just found Mark McCormick. Had to go and drag him out of the corner there. But Mark, busy race. Spent a lot of time in third. Didn't look like you had what it was going to take, and then all of a sudden in the last half of the race, you just ran right to the front.
Yeah, really happy with the result. Kind of stinks the way it happened there on the last lap with the lapped cars, and the only reason I got a gap there with about 6 or 7 laps to go is because of a lapped car. So a little unfortunate because, man, it was going to be a toss-up between the three of us. We all had the same pace, and it just came down to managing the draft, which I think I did really well in the beginning. And then I absolutely butchered the pit stop and the outlap. I was like in the grass, and so it was no surprise when Z got out in front of me after the pit cycle.
Yeah, we saw you take a suboptimal line through turn number 1 there, but it looked like a short fuel stop for you as well.
Yeah, hanging out in third the first half of the race really helped me save a lot of fuel. Simple as that.
That makes sense. And then all the way through, it looked like you and your championship rival there, Zihao, you were leaning on each other a little bit, getting real close.
Yeah, it's a tight track, and like if you try to take this car off the racing line on a track this tight, it's not really going to do what you're hoping it's going to do. So we had a little bit of rubbing, but I don't think anything too major. I don't think we even got a 4X.
Well, great job and great result. And thanks for coming out and putting on a great show. Anyone you need to shout out today?
You guys for putting all this on. Thanks to you guys. I'll catch you next round.
Thank you.
Well, we put it on, but with great support from ChampCar, from the board and all involved there that put up the awesome prizes and bring the community together. Always great to see lots of sim racing enthusiasts, iRacing enthusiasts, but you and I recognize many names up and down the grid today as some real long time ChampCar Endurance Series racers who, sure, they might want to do 2 or 3 or 4 or more races a year in the real world, but during the week when they're not at the track, they join us here on iRacing. It's always great to have that community spirit on a Wednesday night. What an exciting race, though. I feel like we had their tension start to finish. I don't know if we quite got the release that you want with a battle at the end there that maybe fizzled out. Just goes to show that we're going to have a championship fight all season long, and it's going to come down to the guys and our championship hopefuls making the best of every combination of car and track that we go to. There'll be some different styles of racing, and today it was Mark McCormick who came up trumps 2 wins from 3 races. As we look forward to what's coming up next, it's round 4, Daytona, back in the Ford Mustang, March 30th. If you want to join us, it's forum.champcar.org with all of the information and sign up. Great information even for sim racing newcomers. There's actually a humble bundle out at the moment where for $17 you can get a 3-month new iRacing subscription plus a whole bunch of other sim racing content. That one is a crazy deal that I think everyone should get on if they're not on iRacing or sim racing just yet. But let's wrap it up here from West Virginia, Summit Point. It's round 3 of the ChampCar iRacing series. Mark McCormick with the win from Simon Foweather and Z Hao Lu. Been David Haynes, Devin Peters with me, Michael Derby on the production. Thank you so much for joining us on HJBC, and we look forward to seeing you at Daytona March 30th.